Almost everyone I know has had this moment. You sit at your desk, staring at your screen, thinking, I can't do this forever, but I also can't quit. And that's the 9 to 5 trap. If quitting your job feels impossible, it's not because you lack the courage to do so, it's because the system was designed so that leaving feels dangerous. The problem isn't you, it's the system you're inside. The good news is people have already figured out a way out of this through different work models, different economies, and yes, even starting businesses. But in order to understand the solutions to this problem, we first have to rewind and understand how the 40-hour work week became so normal in the first place. Do you ever wonder why everyone works 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday? I mean, it's not like cavemen were clocking in and out of work. As a matter of fact, for most of human history, there were no standardized hours or work days. Prior to the 1850s, most people were in agriculture, which meant work was seasonal, weather dependent, and conditional based on harvesting cycles. There were no hours, there were just tasks, a lot of them. And since there were no hours, nobody cared when things got done, only that they did. So what changed? Why didn't we keep that rhythm, working hard in the summer, resting up in the winter? Well, because factories don't care about snowy weather. You can't plant any new crops in a blizzard, but you can still make a t-shirt. See, as with a lot of things in American history, the Industrial Revolution is to blame. Factories started popping up and mass producing everything from cotton to steel. Let's talk to 1800s Eddie to see what he thinks of all of this. How do you do, my good lad? What's with the sophisticated language? Weren't you guys all super simple back then? Alright, fine. The jig is up. What do you want? I'm trying to show the people what life was like back then. Well, life is actually kind of nice here on the farm, but oh, look at that. A nice store just opened up in town, except I can't actually buy anything. When it comes to food, fuel, clothes, and even shelter, I just kind of make all of that from scratch, which allows me to survive, but I rarely ever have any cash. As a matter of fact, I only get cash like one time a year, when I sell surpluses from my harvest. Bummer. I won't be able to buy any of these cool new products at the store, or partake in anything in this new market economy. Unless I get a job at one of these new factories. I heard these guys give something called a paycheck, which means I'll now have cash on me every single week. That's pretty sweet. Except now I have this boss that wants me to work like 70 hours every week. I take it back, not sweet. Yeah, that seems like too much. Me and all the rest of the workers should really get together and demand better conditions. We'll start by asking to work a reasonable amount of time. But what's reasonable? Hey, that guy over there has a pretty nice slogan. 8 hours for work, 8 hours for sleep, 8 hours for what we will. Catchy. Well, we thought it was fair, but the factory bosses don't think so. So it looks like we're gonna have to stage some giant walkouts to get our way, which surprisingly works. Seriously? That worked? Yeah, that idea of the 8-hour day is actually so good that it's catching on all over the world, not just here in the United States. But some people still want us working Saturdays and Sundays, so we need to convince these bosses to let us have some days off. That guy over there looks pretty powerful and influential. If he gives everyone at his factories a 40-hour, 5-day work week, maybe other people are gonna follow suit. Hey, isn't that guy a Nazi? Like, wasn't he literally honored by the Nazis? Hey, don't worry about that. Anyway, we were right. That new work week ended up being so widespread that legislators stepped in and passed something called the Fair Labor Standards Act, which officially locks the 40-hour week into law. So now, in the 1930s, we totally got exactly what we wanted. A lot of the world made its way out of the agricultural sector, so we're not all in survival mode anymore. And these 5-day-a-week, 40-hour weeks are pretty awesome, especially compared to those horrible 70-hour jobs that we used to have. So that's why this model is everywhere, huh? Everyone basically adopted the 40-hour work week around this time when Ford put it into effect, and federal law backed it all up. Yep. Overall, I'd say it was a giant win. Yeah, I guess it worked for the world that it was built for. Fast forward a whole century, and it is now the year 2026. We've cured cancer and solved global hunger. I'm just kidding. We're still living in an ugly dystopia, but hey, at least we're producing way more than we've ever produced ever before in all of humanity. I bet that means wages are through the roof right now, right? What the f? Okay, let's check in on the average American worker. See how they're doing. The average worker looks pretty exhausted, and that makes sense. The Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that full-time employed people work around 8.4 hours per weekday, totaling 42 hours per week. But it doesn't end there. When you factor in that the average commute is right around a half hour each way, you add another 5 hours to the work week. And then there's the silent killer, unpaid household work, which I know it's not part of a job, but it still affects the calculus here. See, when you add it all up, Americans feel like they're working 56 hours per week. And that's just the average ones. That's a far cry from 8 hours for work, 8 hours for sleep, and 8 hours to do whatever you want. Okay, big deal. Why can't people just deal with it? I mean, didn't they used to work way more hours anyways back when they were on the farms? Sort of. Remember that work was seasonal, which means there were long periods of intensity, sure, but there were also long periods of rest. Nowadays, in modern times, people can't count on months off, so they're stuck on this treadmill running the same pace until they retire or die. And I'm not sure people are supposed to work this much, doing the same thing day in and day out forever. Machines can do that, sure, but humans aren't built for that. And we do have some evidence that it is breaking people. For example, these consistently long working hours are associated with a higher risk of developing depressive symptoms. It also causes more work interference with family, which results in more conflict at home and lower life satisfaction overall. And that's just the average American workplace. There are also horrible companies with horrible bosses. 1 out of 5 Americans say their workplace is toxic. And the majority of the people who report that say it's harmful to their mental health. And it's not just a mental health epidemic either. The WHO estimates that there are approximately 745,000 deaths per year from heart disease and stroke, which can be linked to long working hours. The 40-hour work week is the official story. The real story is that the standard quietly slides to 50 to 60 hours, and that's where things start to break. It's psychologically draining, and it poses a real public health risk. Okay, but people can just leave their jobs and find something better, right? Not really. Seemingly everyone is on the same system. It's hard to find anyone practicing a different way. And it's not just that. Your 40-hour work week now comes with JobLock, a great feature which ensures that the only way to get decent health insurance in this country is through an employer-based plan. With zero alternative and the cost of healthcare skyrocketing, you now have no choice but to stay at your crappy job, even if you don't want to.
JobLock may cause depression, anxiety, and serious conditions like heart disease and stroke. If you're experiencing any of these symptoms, you may want to quit your job, but you won't be able to because you'll feel financially unsafe doing so.
Well, at least with the 40-hour work week, people are retiring eventually, right? Oh, come on. So if this system is so bad, why do we all put up with it? Well, because it feels like there are no alternatives. But feeling isn't reality. The outlook is grim, but it's not like there's no escape. I'm going to briefly present 3 solutions to you. Number 1, find a good job or suggest better terms. It may be rare, but it's not impossible to find places that offer one or more of these fixes. Or maybe you can suggest these to the business owners and maybe they'll pay attention. The more of these that are in place, the better the chances that the job won't be soul draining. They could reduce hours without cutting pay. There have been multiple real-world trials, specifically overseas in Iceland and the UK, which show that going from 40 hours down to 32 or 35 actually didn't affect productivity at all, and it improved the well-being of the employees. My opinion here? That's probably because anywhere from 5 to 8 hours per week are purely wasteful in the enforced 40-hour workweek structure. Reducing the hours just eliminates that waste and frees up that time so that workers can enjoy their lives. Win-win. Hybrid work with real schedule flexibility. We collectively tried this in 2020 during the pandemic. Everyone suddenly went remote, and the world did not, in fact, collapse. It just restructured. The point of remote work is that things still get done, but employees are in charge of their time and location. That leads to happier people, even if the hours stay at full-time levels. The right to disconnect. This just means that you should try and find a job where clocking out really means clocking out. No Slack after 5 p.m., no after-hours emails or messages that you have to respond to. Without this, you'll probably feel like you're working in an invisible second shift. There are more, but these alone dramatically change the experience of work. Number 2, start a business. If you're in the market for going on an adventure, starting a business is a very clear departure from the 40-hour work week. Now, I can already hear a lot of you saying, owning a business means you work even more than 40 hours. All right, that's mostly true, but it's missing a huge piece of context: time and money sovereignty. Owning a business means you work longer hours, especially at the beginning, but you are in control the entire time. Since you own your time, you decide when work starts and when work stops. No asking for permission to go to a doctor's appointment or drop the kids off at school. And since you're the owner of your money, when you produce a profit, the profit is yours to do whatever you want with. People aren't necessarily miserable because they're working 40 hours. I'd argue that they're miserable because they're working for 40 hours on something they don't care about and which produces no lasting benefit for their lives. I've found that people will willingly work 100 hours a week if they get to chase their dreams. But even 10 hours a week is hard when it's something that's emotionally exhausting. The caveat I'll give here is that starting a business is insanely hard and requires intense sacrifice. But that's another video. Hey, ho ho, job lock has got to go. Number 3, support policies that end job lock. All right, before I start a war in the comments, I am not advocating one side or the other. I do not care which team you root for. What I will say is that healthcare, as it currently stands in the United States, is not viable. Both sides should agree on that, especially because the system we designed over here is neither capitalist nor socialist. It is a weird, amorphous blob of lobbying, dark money, buying politicians, and giant profits for health insurance companies and pharmaceuticals. We should support more solutions to that problem so that healthcare stops feeling like such a boogeyman, which would in turn put less pressure on employees to stay in their jobs or risk medical bankruptcy. There's more policies like paid parental leave or childcare which could help, but I think you get the point. There are ways to improve this system that we're all living in. We don't have to stay miserable. If you're in your job and you want to quit, but you feel trapped, I hope you find one of these solutions, and soon. Feeling trapped doesn't mean you are trapped. I'll leave it there for now. If you enjoyed this video, please consider smashing the like button and subscribing to the channel. That would help a ton. If you think there's anything I got wrong or mischaracterized, let me know down in the comments. Anyways, I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace!